Why elephants? And I always say elephants have a different ecology or studies compared to hyenas. We call them the keystone species. In a layman term, elephants speak on behalf of other species. We say they eat 300 kilograms of dry mass per day, drinking about 240 liters of water. Where you have elephants, you can have other species. Other animals depend on the elephants, even for security. According to the African Elephant Database, the latest data that we are using is 2016, where we are talking over Africa, we are hosting 315,000 elephants. Kenya, currently, according to the data, we host 30,000 elephants, and the population keep increasing to decrease. Uganda has increased from 4,000 to 7,000 now. Rwanda have increased their population from 70 to now nearly 120. Tanzania, which is again play a major role because of the cross-border issues, their population is coming down to medias. Congo is declining. Their population now stand at 20 to 25,000 elephants. The East Central Africa Elephant Walk, which was bordering 4 countries, the Kenya, Uganda, Congo and Rwanda, was to bring the attention. We cannot do conservation of the elephants in East Africa and Central Africa without mentioning the Garamba National Park. This is one of renowned park that hosted, a country, DR Congo, hosted nearly 300 elephants in the 45 years ago. But today we've lost all those elephants. So my campaign was to bring the attention to the world. Congo is facing a lot of conflict, insurgents, poaching. You know, we've heard from the elephant trade information system, the population of elephant coming down and the increase of the trade from Darfur in the southern Sudan and Garamba. And so there is an attention. We may be talking Tanzania, Kenya has raised awareness and reduced domestic trade on ivory, but DR Congo has become the haven, the poaching area. The ICCN, which is the International Congolese Conservation Network, require their attention. We do talk about the African Elephant Coalition, the 29 countries. Congo is a member. But how can Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda support this country? And that's why I say you cannot choose who your neighbor is, but you can choose who your friend is. Congo require the African Elephant Coalition team to support the existence of the elephant and other species like okapi, which is a unique species. It's only that country that has that species. So one reason why I decided to do this work is to show the connectivity that we used to have, but it is not there. The other thing was to see whether there is a treaty, the regional treaty, the Lusaka, which Kenya now sits as the chair. And this talks about the cross-border wildlife initiative, whereby a country depends on the neighboring country, and to see whether is it something that we can depend on.
The love of God which fills the universe flow through you that you might reflect His image, and the blessings of God Almighty, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit be among you and remain with you always. Amen. Go into God's world in peace to love and serve the Lord in the name of Christ. Amen.
It's a gift, and it's got these words: ivory belongs to elephants. And I think we all know now the word.
Ivory belongs to elephant campaign is a very simple message that we are telling the public that ivory only has value when it is in an elephant. The moment it leaves the elephant, it becomes valueless. All the mythical beliefs that ivory is precious, it is prestigious, is only leading to decimation of a species here. And the second driver is the hunch to undertake grassroots and public education and awareness, and to profile the conservation and the beauty of this country, our landscapes and our biodiversity.
The East Central Africa Elephant Walk started in Nairobi July 29th, and this was flagged off by the Cabinet Secretary then for Tourism and Wildlife, this Madam Penina Malonza, and the Kenya Wildlife Service Director General Dr. Erastus Kanga, among other people who supported that. The thing that I saw this time, I've increased the branding, and I want to appreciate the Kenya Police through the Ministry of Interior for the support, the coordination between Nairobi and the border, and also the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. This is what made me to have a smooth run, and I was walking just after the Madamano. So I was basically doing the real Madamano.
The Ivory belongs to Elephant Walk, has under significant impact. Internally in this country, we have seen our own, the pioneer, that is Dr. Jim Nyamu, be able to mobilize all partners and rally them along one message. One of the key critical factors that we have seen is that other than Kenya Wildlife Service, this work has been able to bring on board other security entities, other government institutions that are able now to rally and walk along and be able to receive and send out the message. And the growth of our internal message has led Nyamu to get into the East African space. And with that, we have seen the same message again here, that when he walks in Uganda, when he goes to Congo, and he goes to other countries, he is able to grip the government systems and other partners, and all of them are able to get the message. This is a very effective campaign tool for public education and awareness.
Looking at the message that I was driving, and I was driving two messages, elephants and snakes. Some areas that I passed, like in Baringo.
Ukiona mnyama yoyote, mami hatusemi ushike nyoka. Hapana. Ukiona nyoka humutabui. Wachana na yeye. Kuna wale nyoka hawana sumu.
There was a good reception from these communities, and also I met two people. One was the woman who had worked with me in 2016 in Dar es Salaam. She just saw the vehicle in Cabranet, and she stopped and to check on what we were doing. Then another person was a driver, truck driver, who passed us when he was headed to Rwanda, and when he came back, he was able to see that we are on the track. The matatu drivers were hooting on us, were checking on us because they had seen us on the road.
Mimi ni dereva wa matatu za masafa kutoka Kakamega kuelekea mpaka Nairobi, na nilikuwa nakutana na hawa watu wakikuja kwa barabara wakiwa wanafunza watu mambo ya vile wataishi na kuheshimu udofu. Nasema ni asante kwa wao.
This reminded me of my first walk from Mombasa to Nairobi. I had even two drivers who would throw sweets to me and sometimes even juices. They saw this person walking for some time, maybe he has a message. There was some highlight. The police who escorted me up to the border was so impressive. I could see the support. Previously, I would see support escorting me in the vehicle, but here they were just walking with me. If you can walk, we can also walk with you. And others amplifying my message. Like in Bugoma, the OCS, they took me even to meetings with the communities, which they were not even meant to go.
Mambo haya tunafanya ya uhifadhi yanatuhitaji sisi sote. Na nilipoanza kutembea kutoka Nairobi, Mombasa mpaka Nairobi, nilikuwa peke yangu. Lakini kipindi hiki sitembei peke yangu.
We even spoke to two people who were arrested because of the bushmeat in Kakamega. And I was able to talk to them just before the judgment. And this was very encouraging to see even the magistrate, the local magistrate in Kakamega, encouraging people that this is why we talk about a case ends up at the hearts of magistrate. But it begins from the community level.
Asante sana bwana DCC kwa kuweza kuflako timu yetu kutoka maeneo haya.
The findings from the work are a continuous process because number one, from where the teams have been working, we receive a lot of feedback, and we keep on implementing those feedbacks. There are quite a lot of them that communities are able to say we don't get quick responses when we have conflict. We are able to build up bases And what we have seen is that the work is able to get us information from the very bottom coming up, yes.
While crossing the border, there is a lot of work done there. You have to clear the vehicles. There's a place I crossed and it was so scaring to be told to remove everything, to count spoon. There are some countries we were received in the several previous works, and I had problem, even the issues of money. There's countries I was robbed money. So for this particular one, I would say it was calm. The handing over ceremony, I came up with this after several works to work with the flag of a designated country. Flag is so powerful, it gives you identification. At the border, we were handed over by the Senior Kenya Wildlife Service and the county commissioner, handing us over to the local government representing the national government of the larger Busia, Tororo region. This is like, so to say, like a mayor of that area, including also the police division headquarters leader was also there. And that would go all the way to the Rwanda and Uganda, where I was handed over again by the senior UPDF. This is Uganda Police Force, Uganda Wildlife Authority, the Park Warden, and the Rwanda Development Board, acting director then, received me over to the country, and also the police. And that would go all the way even to the border of Rwanda and DR Congo, the senior ICCN and the RDB and the police officers. Actually, I would say this work is not militarized, but because of the issues of security along the road, we required the police, we required also the ministry in charge. Our foreign affairs, our two ambassadors in the three countries were involved at the transition, the handing over ceremony, and also the Kenyan in diaspora also participated. The tourism family were also engaged. Schools were also not left behind.
I'm looking now for a chairman of Team Mafisi. I want to give one. Akwapi? Kuja hapa wewe chairman. Come here. Yeah, this is the man. Do you know why I'm saying this? Because some animals, by the way, hyenas, do they have values? Do we need those animals? Yeah? Hyenas are very important. They control diseases. Listen here. That's why I need this guy. If this guy would start documenting.
Jim is a brilliant gentleman. Jim loves elephants. Jim loves conservation. I think from his youth, I worked with him here at KWS when he was a young officer before he left. Jim is a very fast learner and he loves what he does here. That is why he decided to carve out this path on Ivory belongs to elephant, and he has propelled it. He has identified himself with the elephants, and Jim is a mentor. He's somebody that I would encourage other youth to follow his footsteps, get to learn what he's doing, and is a driver of change.
Community feel sometimes comfortable when they see their local leaders inviting a guest for them. They feel they're comfortable. I saw that again in Uganda, whereby they held me with a lot of respect.
Going through Uganda, Tororo, Kampala, we go Kigali, then Kinshasa, Congo. So you can join us. But right now, let's meet at the Grand Central Market for a small awareness meeting about the wildlife.
This is a man who's walking 3,600 kilometers. He started from Nairobi and is heading to DRC Congo. Please talk to the people.
Thank you so much. Watu wa Tororo, hamjambo? Muriaga. Muriaga mono. That's my mother tongue, says hello.
Rwanda, Congo, they would say this is a guest of this country. Some of the police confess they have never stood in front of community to talk about conservation. They would only arrest them and take them, but they felt also a challenge that they can also be part of the big agenda to conservation.
Nini preserve our environment ndio wanyama wetu wapate mahali ya kuishi. Hawezi jitetea na sisi mpaka tujitetee, tuwatetee hawa.
In all the centers I stopped, I was giving them the Swara magazine. Swara is a Swahili name for antelope. This is a magazine published by East Africa Wildlife Society. I was also giving them Koba magazine, Swahili name for bush baby.
Mnyama huyu anaitwaje? Simba, asante sana.
And I would categorize that maybe an elderly woman, a man, a young man, border people, just to tease them and ensure that there is a proper way of giving out those magazines. So there's this woman that must have been in between Busabara and Impiji in Uganda. This woman actually confessed that she had not seen any wildlife, and so she was looking at the Swara magazine like it is an eye opener for her. It's like reading that will make her even visit the park. On Sundays, I would take the same message to church. I remember between Iganga and Mayuge in Uganda, I went when the Muslims were just finishing the prayers, and they gave me an opportunity to speak in a mosque, and even outside there to talk to the Muslims. They received me and they gave me a lot of water and hope and escorted me. Other thing is I would also plant trees with schools and communities. I also did that even with the police stations. You know, we are in the spirit of mitigating climate change, and the only do that is to plant or to grow trees. So I did that in most of the 4 countries. I did in several places.
By protecting the habitats of the animals, represented here by the elephants. Under the elephants are all the other animals.
This one is olive baboon.
Olive baboon.
Olive baboon.
Olive baboon.
No, Papio Anubis.
And also stopping by schools. I visited several schools, such as Maguo, which is named as, it's the school named after the hippos. I visited a school again in Queen Elizabeth and Lake Buro, and the students accepted the challenge to be associated with the park management. The same case in Ramagana, which is in Uganda, Rwanda. The message would amplify to anybody who was along the way, and of course, the next generation. We've maintained that the hashtag conserving for a better tomorrow, and we can only do this when we involve the next generation. The climate change has a high effect on the conservation of the elephants and other species. We've noted whereby the population have declined. We've seen parks like Aboseri, we've seen parks like Savo have lost their elephants at some point, like maybe 0.something% to 1%. The climate change has come to disorganize the weather pattern, and so we are only dealing with opportunistic or the coping mechanism. A time like this in Aboseri, we are feeding animals with hay. Now Aboseri is green. Unfortunately, our communities are proactive. They only deal with the issues as they come. We never learn a lesson. How can we plan for future? Can we conserve? And this we have learned from the governance. We've not seen Kenya, even Uganda, people harvesting water. So as the rain stops, our dams dry up, we only remember the water that we used to have. Another challenge that is facing conservation today is basically blocking the corridors and the migratory route and dispersal areas. Why do we need corridors? Why do we need dispersal areas? These are areas that were seasonal grazing. When it is wet, animals and wildlife, and particularly elephants, they are highly adaptable. There are areas that they would do either mating or calving down, and they go there because they have some medicinal species like Roberia in Mount Kenya and Aroe in the regionals. However, those corridors have been blocked. We've lacked the land zonation plan. Yes, you find in those pastoral regions we have large spatial area management, But because of now, like in Kenya, we've faced a big management drift from the national government to the devolved government, whereby every county wants to be the best county. And so even in areas that are not arable, you want to see people producing food, but they may be interfering with the holding areas. So the corridors have disappeared. And these corridors were not only for elephants, they were actually for even other the livestock. And then land zonation would have been the best, but now land subdivision. It's good and it is bad. The Americans, who are more pastoralist, they came in Kenya and they were encouraging the Maasai, the pastoral community, not to subdivide the land. They say, we subdivided the land ourselves, but we have realized that subdividing the land, we are actually losing the grazing areas. So it is now the high time that we learn from our mistake. We are not saying, yes, let's subdivide the land, but let's also think about the future. Some areas are not arable, but we can also get returns from pastoralism and from the tourism aspect. In Kenya, we have the Corridor Dispersal Area Management Plan, but executing that is a big problem, whereby the Kenya Wildlife Service, as the mother organization or agency to implement that, they cannot implement that unless they have full support. And full support means resources. Resources means goodwill support, because it means reclaiming the lost, settled land that was meant for wildlife, like connecting Aboseri and the Savo. It means taking away land from people who had bought it. During the genocide after '94, people went back home and the government settled people in the forest or in the park. After some time, they've learned that what these people are doing is not sustainable. Let's take these people away from the forest and let us have back our forest and resettle them, what they call the village, the modern village, and give them projects that can be sustainable for them, of course supported by government. This is the Rwanda Development Board. So they are now reclaiming back the land. It requires a holistic approach. It requires a serious leadership. It requires a boldness, and it's a risk activity, but it is doable. Unless we create an independent conservation development agency. Rwanda, they are doing it well. And this is an independent institution that all the institutions that are generating money through tourism must support that, put that money in a kitty. And that kitty should now look at the community, their needs, and implement that. An example is Kenya Wildlife Service. We used to have revenue sharing to communities, 60-40%. But the Corporate Act was changed, whereby the Kenya Wildlife Service do not receive the revenue direct to their bank. They have to write this to the national government, and sometimes national government priority is not to do what Kenya Wildlife Service would want. And that's why you find now most of the institutions have no money to do even CSR. And that way reduces the confidence from the communities that are neighboring the parks. I am appealing and to the four countries, they need to think about identifying an independent institution that is driven by passion, driven by experience, so that we can all be on the same page with our community. We in the conservation arena, we want animals to increase. We want them to have a healthy habitat, a healthy ecosystem. But our community at the same time, they are also suffering. The areas where there is compensation, it is taking a lot of time. It's taking ages before it's compensated. And then it is not sustainable. It is not guaranteed that after compensating so and so, next year he will not lose his livestock. So there is a need. And the only way is the countries, my country, they need to listen to the experts. We are available. We are ready to give out our opinion, because animals have no problem. We are the problem. And so we need to manage the wildlife the way they can also be of higher returns. We talk about elephant, lad, and people. striking the balance.
We have seen all our efforts in conserving and protecting the elephants. We have been able to protect and conserve parks, reserves and other landscapes, and in that comes all the other species that are lower in terms of size than the elephants. So our elephant is more or less like what we call is an umbrella. When we conserve the elephants, we are able to take care of the other species. Not all of them, there are those others that require very specialized attention and conservation actions here.
Most of the challenges that I faced were more on human resource. Sometimes you have people, support team or your colleagues, that some are not compatible. I had a team that gave me a bit of a headache to manage. Some were, it was the first time, and some reached to a level that the compliance level, and they're not able to do that. But I kept reminding that I will still continue. I lost like 50% of my communication team in Uganda because of some things that I couldn't contain. My communication somehow haunted, and I was actually working and doing communication. That was a big blow to me, but I did it. The other thing was one of my vehicles broke down between Uganda and Rwanda and coming back to give us a lot of, and it delays us actually because I can't leave it, but at some point I had to leave it behind and continue with my work. When we went to Murchison Falls, it's an area prone to malaria. 2 of my people were seriously sick. And of course, when one of us is unwell, you cannot continue. When I was entering Rwanda, my legs were swollen, and I had to have like 2 days of recovering, and the doctor came and said, you have okay, it's only that you're pushing yourself so much. Nevertheless, I saw a lot of tension in between, like in Queen Elizabeth, which border Virunga Masi. Areas that we went there, in the morning we passed there, we visited Katwe, and we saw the invasive plants. But after 3 hours, the rebels attacked and they killed 2 British and the local driver. That was a tension. I've never came across such things before, even those other walks where they are not able to continue with the walk because of the death issues. Lastly, when we arrived in Nairobi, we had a bad accident, and this accident was the first accident. But again, this is the problem of traffic regulations and people who not respect a convoy. So we were hit, and I was seriously hit because of the belt. But I'm happy that I recovered, and I'm ready to do the next walk. What keeps me going is the driver, the reason why, and the kind of the reception that I normally receive at times. Like the part of the Kenyans where I have been, like in Savos, and also like in coast areas, I do have good reports that after you passed here, we established, a community self-help group towards conserving this. If I had a bad day, I always keep like today might be a good day. Like I remember in Musanze in Rwanda, the last day I had so many people who received me. By the roadside I would fight them with drums. So I was looking forward to see how will tomorrow be. Nevertheless, there is a lot that need to be done. I have not seen the indigenous appreciation, indigenous attention. I've not seen, and I know this is a big problem that I've seen in my country, the media engagement, where the media needed to change their attention from politics to issues that are affecting our communities. The habitat disappearance, which is because of man, the insurgents, or sometimes the issues of human-wildlife conflict, we are struggling with the hyenas. Those are things that I'm really trying to see how can the media buy this idea, in the sense that a media house would want to run with us and be able to highlight these stories that can cascade to the local communities, and it can even go ahead and change a policy. To restore the hope of elephants in East and Central Africa require cohesiveness in the governance and the policy. They need to validate what each country is doing. If you look at Kindri, these countries, apart from Kenya, they have faced some civil war. In Uganda during the Idi Amin, during the genocide, 94, 95, India in Rwanda, and now the perennial war that has been experienced, that is spilling from DR Congo to Rwanda and Uganda. It is basically a governance issue. And so, if we see ourselves having elephants for the next 50 years, unless we change the governance, unless we bring sobriety in those countries, in DR Congo, chances are high that we might lose those elephants. Some areas, the Butembo and the Virunga Massif, it is actually called impenetrable. It is, you can't do anything there. We're not even sure how many elephants are there. And when you talk about elephants, how about these other species? I always say that I'll walk until the world knows Ivory belongs to elephants. I'm not saying I'm retiring, I'm dying soon. My work is to give birth to myself. It is like replicating me to other places, and I'm happy I have replicated myself in different areas. And I can see, like, after my work in 2016 in Uganda, there are people who had worked with me, the Ugandan Wildlife Authority. When they saw me, the fire was more than how it was. So those are the people that remind me we need to continue. The East Central African Elephant Walk took 115, covering 3,200 kilometers. We had anticipated to do 3,600 kilometers, but due to insecurity in DR Congo, I had to shorten the walk. And so far, for the last 10 years now, I've done 28,750 kilometers. I consider the East Central Africa a success walk compared to other walks. However, I look forward to the next walk. I know it will be more successful than this one.
My parting shot is to encourage Kenyans to join us in this conservation journey. This is not a journey that Kenya Wildlife Service can walk alone. We need the communities, we need other agencies, we need the other partners to be able to conserve the very great places and species for humanity. My call as usual is karibu tutunze mali yetu. Ivory belongs to elephants.
And I want to say a big thank you. And in Kinyarwanda we say, Murakoze cyane. If you go to Uganda they say, wibare nyo, or wibare ino. May God bless you. Mukama ibaziwe.